From the center of the galaxy, the dark, dark, gritty galaxy. This is ForceCenter, show about Star Wars pop culture and the ultimate adventure, life itself. Today, diving into the Maul episodes 9 and 10. I'm Ken Napzok.
I'm Joseph Scrimshaw, and I am both thrilled and sad to talk about Maul since this is our last episode covering Season 1 of Maul. I want to give a shout out to my Sith Lord hat from 1999, who has been a good friend throughout my life since 1999. But in particular, celebrating Maul and all the Dark Lords we got to see in these episodes. Did I say my name? I'm Joseph Scrimshaw. Anyway.
I love it. Long intros, good food. I even brought out my old Darth Vader mug. I haven't had this in a while. And guess what it's in here?
Drink out of the Dark Lord's head.
I've got apple juice. Apple juice is here.
You got some appy juice in the Vader head?
Indeed.
Well, we are excited to share with you this final show of Maul and the curse of himself. And I think that's maybe one of the questions that will be hanging over us, Ken, is whether Maul did indeed curse himself this episode. Under great debate. Anyway, excited to dive in.
Yeah, we're going to dive in indeed. As always, we want to remind you that today's show is brought to you by our own merch shop. That's right. Check out our merch shop on Fourth Wall. You can get a t-shirt, you can get a mug, a pint glass, other things to help support us and represent ForceCenter out in the galaxy, which might bring more people to us here. You can head over to ForceCenter-shop.fourthwall.com, ForceCenter-shop.fourthwall.com. Links down below if you're watching on YouTube. Also, our TeePublic shop is technically still out there and has some stuff on there as well. So that's that. We are also racing towards the release of The Mandalorian and Grogu, which also means we are getting closer to our goal over on Patreon.
That is right. This is a big time in the Star Wars world with the new Maul show, of course, and the big new film, Star Wars returning to the cinemas for the first time in 7-ish years. So along with that, we know this is a good time to maybe meet some new friends and maybe have some friends join us on Patreon. And frankly, we could really use it. So we are building to a goal of 400 paid patrons by the time of the release of Mandalorian and Grogu. This has been really successful chatting about it because we're up to 394 paid patrons right now, only 6 to go. And how many days? I don't know. A week and a half? Is that how math works?
Like that.
I don't know. I'm too busy to look at my calendar, but I made time for Maul. So thank you all who has joined us on Patreon. And if you'd like to check it out, please go to patreon.com/ForceCenter.
Indeed. This season, we get to say this season of Maul has been absolutely spectacular. But Joseph, I'll say right now, I have the fewest amount of notes I've yet taken for this series. And yet I might have the most to say. So I'm ready to dive in with you.
Perfect. I have copious notes and a lot to say, so it'll be perfect. We are discussing, of course, episode 9 and episode 10. Episode 9 entitled Strange Allies, written by Christopher Yost, directed by Stuart Lee. Episode 10, The Dark Lord. Not finale, as they advertised, but The Dark Lord. Written by showrunner Matt Maknovitz and Brad Rao, directed by Nate Villanueva. Again, these names are all familiar. Christopher Yost, I had forgotten, was one of the co-writers of, I believe, the Prisoner episode of Season 1 of Mandalorian. So a name who has crossed different kinds of presentations in Star Wars, from live action to animated. Any other thoughts on this list of creators, Ken?
Bravo to all involved in all this season. Some veterans all around. It's interesting as a live action and animation crossover. That's spectacular. Yeah, good job.
Yeah, it's been great to see this roster of mostly familiar names, a couple of new names, and everybody just knocking it out of the park. So we will move on to our overall reaction. I normally say, did you like it? Did you love it? Did you struggle with it? I sense a lot of love. I'm going to assume love. Where do you go with your overall reaction?
I think it's fair to say, look, it's fresh in our mind, not just these episodes, but this season. But I'm confident enough to say that these episodes cap one of my favorite Star Wars stories, and the story gets to go on. But I'll always look at Season 1 as just this great Star Wars story that was one of my favorites that, as we'll discuss, went in some ways I expected it to go, but got there in ways I could not have predicted or did not think they'd put the pieces in this place. Wonderfully constructed season, perfectly told finales, putting it both together. And I just... we talked about how beautiful it is, the art, but these these colors bleed. That's the only thing I can think of, just looking at the backdrops and the style they chose to present this show in, while also, which was kind of old school in a way, but then that it just so much, new technology bringing forth some really powerful animation just pops on screen and is fluid and realistic in a way I know that they've been getting to. Bad Batch had this going as well. It's just gotten better and better. So yeah, and in action heavy episodes, the story really drove it all. And we're going to dive into that too. Oh, and also I would say my favorite depictions of Inquisitors yet as these effective Nazgul of the Emperor. I love that, and we'll get to the Vader of it all, but I think this is also one of my favorite depictions of Vader, the monster, a true horror villain. We'll talk about that, of course.
Yeah, no, absolutely. There's so many things to say overall, not just about these episodes, but you're right about the show. This is one of my favorite Star Wars stories as well. I think this is one where they just got all of the ingredients of Star Wars, or many of the ingredients, and just balanced them perfectly to make this, to me, perfect Star Wars dish. It's got action. It's got a strange, weird pulp energy. It's pulling from all sorts of genres, from noir to even the strains of Western here and there. Got silly, over the top comedy in places. It's got heartwarming family moments. It's got the horror of fascism. It's kind of got a little bit of everything that makes Star Wars, including, to me, I bang on about one of the most powerful parts of Star Wars is about this story of the new and the old. It's a generational tale, but it's also so significant to the success of the first Star Wars film, Star Wars, later A New Hope, that it was so much about nostalgia and about returning to these old genres, but in such a fresh, exciting new way that it blew people away. So I felt like not only did Maul Shadow Lord get the proportions just right in all of the ingredients that make Star Wars, it found ways to be fresh and new. And in the action scenes in particular, have lots of moments that are like, I have seen that move, I have seen that emotion, I have seen that theme, but it's just shot in such a beautiful way, choreographed in such a beautiful way that it feels fresh and new and makes you go, whoa, in a way that is surprising when you're talking about 50 years of Star Wars.
Yeah, no, indeed. I recency bias is a real thing. I get it. But, if we're going to start ranking lightsaber fights all over again, which we might have to do, I got about 3 in this episode that I would say are distinct and different lightsaber fights that belong on lists. And you're right, the way they pulled it off. And then Clone Wars Season 7 was a big leap forward in how they put together these shows. And the Ahsoka Maul fight had a lot of press behind it. I'd love to see more behind the scenes of these fights.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And yeah, Star Wars has always also been about visual storytelling, and this is such a bold step forward, and it fits the ideas so well, but it's just so gorgeous to look at with the painted backdrops. And there's even a shot in this episode, I don't know if they've done it other places, when Vader's really pressing down on Maul and their blades are locked, and there's a little like vibration, little like squiggly little cartoon lines that look cool as hell. It's just so beautiful. So there's also that. In terms of overall reaction to these particular episodes, obviously the Vader part of the discussion is huge, but I didn't expect Vader to show up in this way. I think that later on, the show will have the confrontation that I expected, which is maybe a little bit more emotional, where both Maul and Vader know one another's weaknesses, and it is in an emotional battle as much as a physical battle. I love that we got just hallway from Rogue One Vader. We just got Michael Myers Vader, just senseless, unrelenting, awful abomination that just wants you to die and wants you to die right now. That was so fantastic to spend that amount of time with not the Vader that we know and can kind of empathize with, but the Vader through other people's eyes who are just meeting this unrelenting monster. That was fantastic.
That's a great point. That it's not the nuanced Anakin turned Vader, and we love that because we're getting it. We got Ahsoka, we got a Obi-Wan Kenobi series. I love exploring that stuff. But in this time, in this era on the Star Wars storyline, This is what I would have wanted. But again, like you said, yeah, we had talked about it. We had the possibilities. Hey, he could come, but even when I kind of knew, it was like, oh, they mentioned tell him, like, oh, wow, are they gonna do Vader? And even that, even knowing or even guessing in the moment, it was better than I could have ever dreamed.
Because we still got to see him through
Yeah.
their eyes of this horrific impediment to their ability to live.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think both episodes, the Strange Allies, gets us a little bit of setup, but pretty much once the Inquisitors are kind of on them, the two episodes are just unrelenting pursuit, pain, and
Mm.
loss. And I think that's what Maul has been experiencing for much of his life. There was much more death and slaughter in these episodes than I expected. Um, but I liked that the unrelenting pursuit, pain, and loss, because I kind of feel like all the characters were made to feel what Maul feels, and we, the audience, were made to feel what Maul feels. We didn't want to lose
Mm.
these people, and it felt constantly like we were, and we did indeed lose lots of them. Um,
Mm.
Final big picture thing for me, and we can talk about it in more depth. But I really felt satisfied by the arc of season one. That when we're first meeting Maul, in this show, some of the first words out of his mouth are about a vision of Devon and wanting to see himself as a lofty visionary
Mm.
like Sidious, capable of grand plans and grand designs. And in the end, he wins in his own way because he gets to be the version of himself that he wants to be, the Shadow Lord, pulling strings, force pushing
Mhm.
Docky in getting exactly what he
Mhm.
wants out of Devon. So I think it was a great bookend for Maul, even though he did a lot of losing. From the framework of what he wanted in this season, he won, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a look late in the show. I'm sure we'll talk about later. That is just him going, "I've won." Mm-hmm.
Mhm. It's
Mm-hmm.
really, upsetting and powerful at the same time. Any other big picture thoughts before we dive into the
let's
details of the
let's
thematic
dive into
journey?
the toxic goo beneath the city.
The acid that there's no point to report. Um, the first big picture idea I want to talk about, Ken, we can zig
Mm.
and zag. But I found myself thinking about all of the kind of ideas and themes that we talked about over the course of the season. And I think for me, the biggest one is identity. Who do you want to be? Who do you want to be when you are in a totally different situation and maybe the old rules don't apply? Do you get to be the person that you decide internally that you are? Or do you have to sort of bend to what people want you to be, think you should be, all that kind of thing? And what I what I really thought was strong in this episode is for almost all of the key characters, they had pivotal moments where their actions ultimately showed us who they are, who they want to be. So that was the theme I'd like to talk about, is the actions that show who you are, starting with, the Shadow
Mm.
Lord, Maul. Um, and I feel like what is one of the things that's really interesting about Maul is that there is a hint of the possibility of not making better choices. Because as we're going to talk about, Docky is, I think, right that Maul appears to do things that benefit others, but it's ultimately to benefit himself. But I think the show hooks you along in he is coming up with all these plans that are about unity and sticking together and keeping Docky around for as long as he's useful. And when they're trapped in the acid river, sending Rook first, sending Docky first. Really, I'm not going to leave here without Devon. He could have ran away 3 episodes ago, and he'd probably be in better shape. I'm not arguing that he was like, oh, I'm going to make the better
Mhm.
decision. I'm arguing that the show let us hope
Mm.
for maybe the possibility of making a better choice. But there's that moment where I feel like he's fighting to survive. He's working Devin as Vader's hunting them, and he has that moment where he's fighting alongside Daki, and they are surviving together. I don't think they're going to kick Vader's ass, but they're surviving by working together. And he has that moment where Devin's in danger over here, Daki's kind of alone in front of Vader, and it's almost comedic. When he just says no and chooses what he wants the most, which is a Padawan, an apprentice to seduce, and does the Force push into Daki, into Vader, and that's the moment where I feel like that's such a defining moment, where this is where he becomes who he wanted to be at the beginning of the season. He is literally hiding in the shadows with a grand plan. He's not pulling the strings, but he kind of is. He's pushing Daki toward Vader, metaphorically, pulling the strings, knowing that will save Devin, knowing that will break Devin. And throughout the course of these 2 episodes, it's not like he sacrificed on purpose all of his comrades, but he put Devin first. And he let all of his comrades, all of his, quote unquote, children, die in service of Devin, the one that Maul thinks will most fulfill him. So I feel like in terms of actions who show you who you are, that was the defining moment for Maul. How do you feel about Maul's choice in who he is ultimately at the end of the season?
He's exactly where he wanted to be, and that might be the problem for everyone else around him. I think you're right to point out too that a lot of the losses aren't necessarily planned. I don't think he's going through his life going, yeah, I'd like Icarus and Scored and Spybot to go and Rook to vanish, maybe be eaten by a monster or just cracked in 2 by Vader. It's a mystery. I look, some of the big lessons for me are, where will the dark side lead you, and the selfishness of the dark side, which are all questions Star Wars has wrestled with and I think clearly answered in the past. But I think the way this show presents it is, I don't know. We have been very public about, like, you can like Maul, but you shouldn't follow him. That's what your uncles Joseph and Ken are going to tell you at the party. But this episode really was, to me, Maul ends up exactly where he wants to be. But everything around him, or everyone around him, is collapsing in some way. These episodes are very much about the compromise of the deals with the devil. Strange Alliances is the name of this episode, but we'll go through all that maybe in a separate theme discussion here. But it reminds me of situations I've been in the real world, of working with someone who's maybe kind of a charismatic leader figure, and you got a group of your friends and you're all working towards a goal, and this person's kind of the leader. And they're, hey, you know what? I want to get you in front of camera. I want to do this thing. I want you. Hey, could you take care of this? And then you look back and realize everything was done to build up them. And if you went against that, how dare you? You're a traitor. If you got left behind, you got left behind. If you wanted to leave, you got tossed out. It was all for them. And Maul is absolutely sitting at the center of me. Maul, I'm the one.
That's really powerful. Maul reminds me of some friends I've had and my grandma, who is no longer here.
That's amazing.
I'll talk about my grandma in particular. My grandma was a damaged individual who didn't fully understand love. And I think she performed the role of grandma and sometimes was successful at it. And I knew that she wanted to care about me, but I think she truly didn't know how. And so I wasn't a fully real person to her. I was grandson who should be treated like this. And I will feel like I'm a good grandma if I perform the role of grandma. But none of it was ever about me because she wasn't capable of that. So that to me is the, part of the curse of Maul. And the question that I think we get to wrestle with all through these upcoming seasons, hopefully, of, does Devin crack through? Can he admit to himself that it's not just a grand design and an apprentice that I want to emulate Sidious? Can he recognize some of his programming, that's what he's been taught to want to fulfill himself, but can he just enjoy being cared about? Because I think that is what, I don't think he's cognizant of it, but I think that's what he wants deep down.
Man, yeah, this is therapy stuff in these episodes. These are the greatest lightsaber fights ever, and some of the best Star Wars therapy. all in one.
Yep. Yep.
Mhm.
We'll talk much more about Maul, but in terms of the actions showing who you are for other characters, I want to talk about Daki, who has, just sailed up the ranks for lots of folks in terms of a favorite Jedi. So
Mhm.
good. Um, and I feel like the story of Daki is that he never gives up on his principles. He shows us who he is, but I think there's a question in that.
Mhm.
So I want to share some Daki thoughts, and then I got a real specific question for you,
Mhm.
Ken. Um, I think Daki does not break. He dies protecting himself, but yes, protecting Devin and the Lawsons so they can get away. He dies fighting with cunning. He's the one who gets Merrick out of the fight. He dies with hope for unity, and he dies with optimism.
Mhm.
Some great quotes to Devin. We must remain calm in the face of fear. True power lies in our patience and cunning. Conversation with Maul. Maul saying he is very powerful. Daki saying, but if we defend one another, we will be stronger. Multiple moments of Maul and Daki staying in the fight, surviving Vader, protecting Devin because they are working together. Um, we're having some great conversations in the chat about this through line of Daki being optimistic, but maybe toxically so. Maybe not being willing to recognize how bad things are. Everything from, hey, we don't need to steal fruit. We can depend
Mhm.
on the kindness of strangers. Hey, it's real bad that fascism is here, tyranny, but I've seen it before and it'll
Mhm.
pass. We can't really trust them all, but maybe this will work out. Uh, just lots and lots of moments of optimism, which we normally applaud, but leads Daki to his demise. So my question for you, Ken, is was Daki wrong to be as optimistic as he was throughout this
It's an
series?
amazing question. That's an amazing question that I think this 10 episode season is asking all of us. And I think in a way, yes, but at this cost. Here's the thing, he did at times say, I don't know, but he still goes forward, like you said. So, he's adapting. He understands a little bit. He's not going to steal some Jogan fruit, I don't think, at any point. But that's why that opening sequence in episode 1 of you're all hungry. Devin steals the fruit for him. Essentially, hey, you're hungry. Older master, you're hungry, and him kind of refusing it on principle, like that kind of sets the tone, right? I mean, we knew it then, but now even more so.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm gonna say yes. I'm gonna say yes because um, this is the long game, and there's this idea that all runs through this. I put a passion versus patience, but it could be just raw emotion versus
Mm.
patience. And I'll say this: at times, even though there's a lot of loss, a lot of painful loss. Oh, Spybot, I'm going to have nightmares about that.
Mm. Mm.
Maul's rage looks like success. Vader's
Mm-hmm.
rage and power once again looks like success. He does kill a Jedi Master, but what do we always say here? Most powerful badass in the galaxy, and he stomps his way through, and what he wants is still flying away. They kept that theme with Vader.
Mm-hmm.
Once again, Vader is looking up,
Mm-hmm.
going, didn't get the full win, but I'm bad. But Maul, at many times in these 2 episodes, that rage looks like a winner. And if you're sitting on the outside of it, I understand what you might be saying. Devin has this great exchange. The selfishness of the dark side is the key to this conversation, I think. Maul saved our lives. He brought us to safety. Fact. Absolute fact. And that line
Mm-hmm.
that you and I both are reacting to is Doc, you saying, did he help you for your sake or his own? That's it. That's the conversation. That is what the show's about. And I'll add this final key point that I want to talk about that's maybe personal. That's why these themes reach out to you and I. Given your age, unleash your potential might be a great starting point. There's a lot of things in our real world, and I don't always like to do the one-to-one comparison to the real world or the headlines. That's kind of not fair to Star Wars sometimes. But righteous rage is a good thing, and it can be clarifying. It can be motivating. To stay in that might be a problem, but because I think given your age, unleash your potential is about becoming your best. At least that's what's being sold to you. Become your best. Become your best. And I think becoming your best, doing things for yourself, breaking cycles. I have a note here from my therapist that says, I need to approve of me, not my mom, not other people. But that is all to become the best version of yourself, to help others, be there for others, not use it all for ourselves. And so Docky holds on to that to the very end to me.
Mm-hmm. I love it. I love your Post-it note. I think the show. I don't want to say what the show wants us to do. I wanted to ask this question because I was wrestling with it, and about Docky. Was he wrong to hope for the best in others? And my answer is going to be no. Ultimately, I think he was strategically incorrect at moments.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he might need to stand on that street corner and ask 100 people before one of them gives him change. But that's what hope is. You ask 99 people until you find the one who is going to reaffirm your belief in people. He never had any blinders on about Maul. He was advocating to Maul to make the better choice for everyone. I think him saying, hey, Maul, let's fight together. Together we can do this, was not him being a blind, toxically positive fool of just work together and everything will be fine. It was him arguing, hey, Maul, release yourself from this curse where you will put yourself first all the time and don't get what you want. You think you got what you want. Like at the end, I say Maul won at the end of the season because he got what he thinks he wants. Right. We know that Devin doesn't end up being the secret to all of his problems because Devin goes somewhere and she ain't around. So I feel like Docky was a hero. Docky was right to stick to his convictions. And if Maul had listened to them, I don't think they would have defeated Vader, but I think they would have got out alive together. The only thing that happened to Docky was he was betrayed by somebody who wouldn't listen to him.
That's it right there. That's kind of the answer to your question in a way, not to turn it into stats, wins and losses, but he committed to this thing. His last words, if I remember, together we could do this. And then Maul almost comically turns on him and vanishes and pushes him.
Little force.
Yeah. But that, again, it's not a blind hope. It is a plea or just kind of factual idea. You're right. I don't know if they kill Vader, but they get away. Right. I think that was his idea. Together we can do this, man. And he dies not because of his actions. He dies because of the actions of someone else. And that, that's it right there to me. Docky. That's why Docky kind of finishes in the right way for me.
Yeah. And I think the strength of the Jedi way, remaining calm in the face of fear, true power lies in our patience and cunning, is demonstrated in how he takes out Merrick. He pulls Merrick, instead of matching him for aggression like he's been trying to do, he pulls Merrick's blade away. Merrick gets fearful of being without his weapon and blindly rushes to get it back, and then Docky gives him a little push. So I know I'm in general a justice for the Jedi guy. I think Docky can be a little bit optimistic. I think the more accurate thing would have been, we can get change from someone, but it's going to take a long time. And I might not eat for 2 days. But at the core, this final episode, who are you? Just because the Jedi Order has fallen doesn't mean you shouldn't stay true to those beliefs. And he did to his dying moment.
Again, this being a morality tale, right? Not everything one-to-one. Yeah. And there's some, I think it's okay to say he made some mistakes. Okay to say maybe he was a little overwhelmed by the situation at times and trying to find the right way forward while still carried. And you're right. Yeah. Maybe he could have said, yeah, I know we can steal that food, but we've gotten food before. We've received caring and kindness before. We're going to do it again. But I agree.
Yeah. So I could talk about Docky all day. Maybe we'll talk about Docky some more, but I want to be sure to talk about Devin in terms of definitive actions that show who you are, who you want to be. All season, Devin has kind of been struggling with her Jedi protocols, which rules to follow, which rules to let go. whether or not using your Jedi power to defend others, is that a righteous use of your power, which you should do, or is that an egotistical need to have purpose and fulfill yourself? But this episode, she does finally give them up. I think it's great that she doesn't choose to be a Sith. She's not like, here, I'm going to hand in my jersey
Mm-hmm.
and switch to the other team. Although the lightsaber stuff is similar
Mm-hmm.
to that. What I love about some of the dark side stories is a lot of times a character will give into the dark side, and it is about their emotions. It is about how great it feels to let go of all these rules holding you back and just be furious and just attack and just be right and correct and swinging your angry blade because everybody else is wrong. It's emotion that leads people to that, but they often use logic to cover it. In Revenge of the Sith, Anakin makes that choice because he is so desperately afraid of losing Padme. And the second afterwards, Palpatine's like, oh no, the Jedi are going to go after all the senators and kill them. So you got to kill all the Jedi. And he's like, oh, I agree. Like, the hell you do. You're just clinging to the flimsiest piece of logic to make it about, well, the Jedi made me do it. I had to go kill all of them because they were going to kill the senators. Like, what? No. And I think this is different, but it's almost better logic because it is that question that Maul gets across to her of, Vader needs to be stopped, and we don't know how. Jedi don't know how. Devin asks, how do we defeat it? Maul says, only when you let go of your restraint, tap into your rage, let it serve you. Maul says, our enemy knows how Jedi fight. You must adapt to outsmart him. So I feel like she has the anger and the fury over her lost master, literally saying, I will kill him. But I think underneath it, there's this sort of logic of, I had no choice. I'm adapting. I can't survive unless I find this new path and throw some of these old Jedi protocols out of the way. And I love some of the imagery with her choice. I think Maul finally does the great teacher thing of, I open the door, but you walk through. I love that he just holds up his blade. He doesn't throw it to her. In an episode where lots of people throw one another their blades, he holds it up to her, and she calls it to her, and she grasps it at the end, at the very end, when she says, I'm ready. So really, I think Maul has successfully seduced her, but made her feel like she is making her choice. And she is. She is making her own choice. How do you feel about the choice that she's made, and what amount of emotion and logic is behind it for her?
I'm sure it makes a lot of sense. Or actually, I don't think she's in her right mind right now for it to make sense, but the logic Band-Aid is already being applied.
Yeah.
Look, before this series hit the airwaves and the news of what actually was in this series came out, like what's been the talk? Oh, that's going to be Darth Talon. Oh, that's Talon. That's some sort of version of Talon. She's going to follow the dark side. So it's not a surprise, right? We kept wondering when is she going to be the one to kill Docky? Everything. This ended up being executed. Gosh, no pun intended. Perfectly, because and I love that you highlighted what Maul actually does with the blade. It highlights what I think a lot of things in this series have touched upon, which is the illusion of freedom. Right? She is making a choice, but she's then now walking into a cage. It is on par to me with the ideas behind Anakin's turn. I say the ideas because sometimes I know some people criticize, and I in the past have criticized, it seems to come out of nowhere. It doesn't. It comes out of 3 movies before it, episodes 1, 2, and 3. But the moment seems like this, turn. But it's I think it's the logic for me. It's the Band-Aid for me. It is, I have no other option but to rely on you. That Maul line, you're not strong enough yet, but I will train you. We will have our revenge. All right, I'm ready. The shot just to choose her eyes and I think just her mouth on the words I'm ready and the gripping lightsaber. Beautiful stuff. Beautiful stuff. But it all does make sense in this moment if you're watching it. I'm not necessarily rooting for this to happen. I like this character and wanted to dance under the rays of the light side of the Force forever. But I bet there's some folks out there going, yes, she finally did it. Yes, she chose the right side. I bet, because it looks really good. It looks like the illusion of choice. It looks like the illusion of freedom, and it feels right in that moment. Those tears are real. Those tears are earned. And to watch Docky die, but to not clock yet, because you maybe weren't right there in the moment that Maul had, let it happen, pushed him literally towards his death. You don't get to see that, and you don't want to see that. She doesn't want to see that. At this point, when she's saying Maul saved her life, he brought us to safety, that's this fact in a calmer moment, but now she's going to be locked into that forever. Maybe until she gets out.
Yeah, no, I really agree. And I think, the great wisdom of Yoda in The Phantom Menace about fear being the beginning of the path. A lot of times we talk about that is fear of loss. And that certainly happens. She loses Docky. She's lost her whole Jedi Order, her whole way of life, and now she loses her master. But I think this show is a great example of just fear for yourself. Of she is mercilessly hunted by these Inquisitors and kind of can just survive. And imagine what that would do to your psyche. And then the Inquisitors are bad enough, and then here's Vader just unrelenting, hammering at you, smacking you around, and this idea that I'm going to die unless I match them, in their fury. I think it's this great stew of fear and anger with the logic band-aid that she's going to be applying of, well, if the Jedi way is so great, why did they all die? Maybe Maul is right.
All right. We need to commission Brian Ward. Let's sell some dark side logic band-aids. Let's get it right now. Let's get it going.
Maybe that will be the what the next season is called instead of Maul Shadow Lord. Maul. Band-aid of logic. So I feel like Devin has shown us who she is for now, based on that final choice she made. But it is hard to fault this poor person trapped in this world, and I can't wait to see what kind of choices she makes going forward.
Yeah, no, I get it. I get it, Devin.
Yeah, get it, Devin. Looking at some of our other friends that we met in this season about their final choices and how they fit with everything they've been through. Let's take a look at Brandor Lawson. Brandor appears to sacrifice himself for what is ultimately most important to him, his son. And that's built up to in these 2 episodes. Great quotes about regret. I haven't been there for you in a while, he says to Riley. And Riley says, well, look on the bright side. This is the most time you and I have spent together in a while. I think it's not really a surprise. There wasn't a big, will Brandor choose his career or his son? I think he's been on the path of he's been the smartest person in the show. He's had the most emotional intelligence of, I see things the way they really are, and I see what's really at stake, and screw the rules, screw the police, screw the past, my son, my family, the people who are with me and helping me. What can I do to get myself and them out safely? So I feel like this is just the final beat of a trajectory he's been on for most of the show. How do you feel about Brandor showing us who he is at the end?
He's lovely. He's just an absolutely wonderful character. Did he survive? There's a lot of conversations about that. I was talking with our buddy Ken Plume about it last night. He's all on. He survived. I would like that, but that seemed to be quite a fatal wound he took. And it's Tech-like to me. We didn't see Tech's body. We didn't see a lot of bodies of supposedly dead people. Marek and Rook Cast.
Yeah, we'll do the in the canon. We'll do the roundup of who might be alive and
do the scoreboard.
Yeah, we'll do the scoreboard.
I'll just say if Brandor Lawson comes back, I'll enjoy it, and it's not even about I'll eat crow and you prove me wrong. If he's still alive and is in a second season, it'd be wonderful. But I think that death was beautiful. The alleged death. I think I would not want to undercut it. Not that people coming back automatically undercuts it, but it just with his son, it was so personal, so warm and sad and bittersweet and uplifting all at once. And I think it was just great to see where he ends up. And I want more time. I want more time with him because he's so wonderfully complicated. What did he do in the underworld? Why did that marriage break up? I'm not just going to blame her because she worked for the Imperials. It seems like he made some choices too. And I think in the end of the day, he stands the test of time here as one of the most memorable Star Wars characters that we get in a short amount of time.
Yeah, and it's such a phenomenal performance. Yeah, from the voice performance to the animation. And I feel like he left a legacy of the final two characters that I wanted to talk about, Riley and Two Boots. I think these episodes are both showing what they learned from
Mm-hmm.
Brander. Uh, Riley is choosing to be like his dad. He won't stay in the shadows, won't just keep his head
Mm-hmm.
down, wants to get out and help people, which is, what Brander does, I think, in the first half of the season of like, I don't want to help these Jedi, but I guess I got it. Um, I love that Riley wants to use his blaster, even though his dad has been telling him to stay down, but he's keeping it on
Mm-hmm.
stun. And that just such a great picture of, maybe he'll end up in this place of violence that a lot of the adults in Star Wars have to get to or get to. But I love that it's just on stun for this. And then I think final thing, Two Boots arc I feel feels very complete
Mm-hmm.
because he has been wrestling with putting protocol over
Mm-hmm.
everything, and he's been wrestling with a lack of emotional intelligence, which Brander has in spades. And you go back to that early scene where Two Boots is just telling Brander he's done everything wrong. He didn't
Mm-hmm.
sleep enough. He didn't shower enough. His plans are dumb. Like nothing is right, even though Two Boots loves him. And this is all just like two Boots' victory over protocol.
Mm-hmm.
I love the quote. I suppose I must now accept that I'm a fugitive from the law. I love his shock at the acid that's being dumped in the river there, illegally disposed of. I will report this immediately. Probably not priority number one. And I think it's really important that Two Boots is the one who comes up with the situational awareness based improvisation
Mm-hmm.
plan to grab the big cannon and shoot down the Imperial shuttle. That comes from Two Boots is such a moment of growth. And even at the end there, I wouldn't expect Two Boots to do anything but
Right.
protect Riley. But early on, he loved Riley, but Riley was not his priority. Get out of here, and Riley had to say, like, Two Boots, you've known me my whole life. And he's like, well, if you broke a law, you got to go with the
Right.
Empire. And there's just no questions asked. Of course, like Brander, my number one reason to be on this planet is to protect
Mm-hmm.
Riley.
I think that's the Lawson Two Boots crime fighting duo that we go forward with. Quite frankly, Riley maybe thought he was going to be a professional space ball player, whatever the game is called. I forget. But I think this might be, this might be where he goes and where they go. You're right about Two Boots. It is also an example of, we get Docky kind of trying to hold to his ideals in a changing world and new circumstances, and it gets messy and it ends tragically. Two Boots is kind of in that same bucket, but maybe the other side of it, of trying to function trying to function under what the old normal was, but discovering who you truly are in the new normal and acting in accordance with who you always maybe were, but just kind of realizing what the situation actually requires of you for others, for the benefit of others and yourself along the way, of course. But I think it's fantastic. And you're absolutely right. From Rule 2.2 states to, I am now the rule breaker, but I didn't necessarily change. I'm still, or I still feel as though I'm myself, but this is how I'm now viewed. And he'll get his boots back too, I think, next season.
Or get new boots.
New boots.
Yeah, I like that we meet characters who almost all have been robbed of their protocol at the beginning, and he's clinging to it. And poor guy at the end has also been robbed of his protocol. And now he's going to be just like Docky. He's going to be out in the world going like, I don't have anyone to report things to, but it's the right thing to do to report when someone's done something wrong. That'll be really cool to see him develop, I hope, in the second season.
Same.
Other big theme that I'd like to talk about, and we've already touched on it in some ways, but I really want to examine how much it impacts these final two episodes, is this theme of unity versus separation, or selfish versus selfless. I think they did a really great job with, I don't think the writers knew that every two episodes would be broken up and shown together. But a lot of them, the two episodes really worked well together. And I think these two really worked well together because Strange Allies, literally in the title, is unity for a while. And you're kind of fist pumping for all these protagonists that you like. The Maul bad team and the Cop Jedi good team, they're working together. And then the Dark Lord is just it all falls apart for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
So just to examine this a little bit, in the first episode, Strange Allies, just a ton of teamwork in the hope of unity. They meet at the Armistice Fountain, it's
Mm-hmm.
called, literally
Right.
the place where we, put our weapons down and come together. And the statue is a symbol of justice, holding a shield and a spear, a weapon of attack and a weapon of defense. Their whole plan is, you got something I need, and I've got something you need. Maul's got the ship
Mm-hmm.
coming. Brander's got the knowledge to get out of the city. And yes, from Maul, it's all these alliances will just last until they do. But for us, the viewer, it's like, maybe, back in the middle of the season, they all tried to surrender to one another,
Mm-hmm.
or they all tried to get the other to surrender to them. And if they had found anything close to the alliance they have
Mm-hmm.
now, the Empire wouldn't have been
Right.
summoned, and they all would have got off the planet okay, probably. So there's this great
Mm.
feeling of like, yes, work together, even if it's only for a short time. Maul literally says our only chance of escape is an
Mm.
alliance. I think it's there in the visual of what the great action sequence is with the Inquisitors in the Acid
Mm-hmm.
River, that there's this chain of escape that we need to all work together. We need to hold up this little bridge
Mm-hmm.
in the middle of the acid
Mm-hmm.
chasm and help each other across it. The fact that Maul sends Rook first, that Maul sends Docky
Mm-hmm.
first. There's so much unity, and maybe not selflessness. But how did you feel about Maul's choices in those moments, that he's choosing to send Rook first, that he's choosing to send Docky first, instead of kind of going to the faster Maul move of get Devin across first, get me across, and then I don't give a bleep about the rest of it?
Yeah, this falls under the bucket of the compromise of the deals with the devil in this case kind of being the maul of it all, and they all just keep sinking lower and lower and lower in an attempt to go up and out, right? And that's kind of the visual for me. But along the way, to your question, I believe this is what makes Maul so compelling right now, and maybe always, is I do believe he, in the moment, he wasn't playing a game. Get across, I'm the most powerful anyways. I'll keep them away for you, but I need you all. I need you all alive for me, right? And I still think that's where he's at. But I think in those moments, it's kind of sincere. Again, he's clearly upset at the death of Spybot, aren't we all? He is
extremely, probably the most upsetting thing in this episode.
He's already lost one brother, loses another. Of his team. Like I think he feels that for real. But like you said earlier, he just kind of. He doesn't know what to do with all that. He doesn't know how to process all along this season. I think even our audience on the live shows has been talking about the idea of, Maul does go through lessons, but he continues to learn the wrong thing. But I think in those moments, there's some sincerity with Maul, even though it funnels back to him.
Yeah, I think it is a matter of, it is ego in need. I think he feels like I'm the strongest. I can keep the Inquisitors back. And I need these chess pieces.
Yeah.
I need Rook. I need Docky. But it reads as almost like chivalrous for Maul. And then, the second episode, things start decently with unity until they ultimately fall apart. Just a lot of great repeated visual metaphors of it. There's that scene where Vader is just hammering Maul to the ground, and Devin joins her blade with Maul's to block the death blow, and they both push Vader back. Docky literally supporting Maul, literally being a shoulder to lean on of this guy that he doesn't trust, but still, you got to give him your shoulder so they can get out together because they're stronger together. That great image of Docky throwing his blade to Devin to keep her alive. They're all traveling together across this broken landscape, across a broken bridge. We've got, with both the Acid River and that bridge, these sort of images of transit across chasms, but there's still the possibility of this bridge, and that's what these two episodes are: the bridges and transitways that are falling apart. And then, of course, it really does fall apart when Maul Force pushes Docky into Vader's horrifying embrace. In contrast, we get Brander, Riley, Two Boots, and even Vario managing to hold the unity together until they all get out, with the exception of Brander needing to sacrificing himself. And that's even kind of married with this hope that the unity could work. That we know that that's not Maul's thing. We know he's only keeping Docky alive for now because he's a useful chess piece. But Brander, Riley, Two Boots, Vario work together. The shuttle goes down, and it's in that shot where both Maul and Docky see the shuttle go down. They realize things could work, and that's when Docky says, "Together we can do this," to Maul. It's just great. It's great tragedy, right? Because you're feeling like, yeah, Docky's not going to make it out of this, but. So I think the episodes were incredibly well constructed to make us feel this hope for unity, this hope for selfless acts like Brander's, as opposed to the selfish act that Maul takes that defines these episodes. How do you feel about the travel through the possibility of unity to eventually the complete failure of unity?
I love that. That's why I was highlighting all the little deals that were made. You got Boston Maul, Devon and Maul, Lawson and Maul, Vario and Lawson, Two Boots and any in Protocol. It goes on and on and on. And it's I don't want to say it could easily be tropey of good guys and bad guys working together to get out. But it was done. It was so earned, just in terms of almost like a review of the show. It was so earned in those moments that, you know, you're rooting for Vario, you're rooting for Two Boots, you're rooting for them, you're rooting for Brander. Though, you know, the moment he gave that earlier heartfelt speech, is like, that's the kiss of death right there. That's Barristan Selmy talking to Daenerys for one final time. Yeah. So I just love it. I love what you're saying too. It's very smart to put the shuttle in. It is this sign of hope. It's Docky going, see, and Maul going, yes, for me, yes, thank you, got it.
And in other Act 3s of you know, big fights, that is the moment where you see your teammates had a victory, and it reinvigorates you to work together and believe that victory is possible. And like, I think there's some great moments in the show that are coded as like in another show they would be triumphant. I think, you know, Maul's journey through the sewer in his own horrific past in order to get himself to stand up is also that whole sequence reminds me of Kenobi and Vader's fight in the Kenobi television show, where Vader buries him and he thinks about the kids and he rises up. But Maul's is the flip side of like, I think about all the bad things that have happened to me and how I need to effing kill some people.
Excellent.
He says,
excellent point.
You know, nobody's ever going to make this. He can never do this to anyone else, but it's because I'm going to kill him. I love that. I love what you're saying about all the deal making. In Dryden was a great example too of like, he is aligned with Maul in that there's talk of alliances, but it's selfish. I like comparing one of Dryden's early lines to one of his last lines in these two episodes. Dryden says, a proposal, one that could benefit both of us. He says, he can be a valuable asset to my interests with his help, and I can take over the syndicate, and we all profit more than we ever have. So like, okay, it's deals with the devils. But by the end, when the pilot's like, hey, there's a lot of blaster fire, Dryden just says, I need Maul. And any sort of like, a little for you, a little for me. Like, it's just what Dryden needs.
Indeed, right? Absolutely. And look, I think he does benefit from this deal down the line when we next meet him, but maybe when you next see him here, he's going to have more power and more parties to entertain everybody. He's going to be looking pretty good, but he still had a great fear of Maul. It doesn't work out for him in a way too. So yeah.
No, I believe he has the line, "You know who I answer to."
Yes.
Like, yeah, and that's not the way he's talking now. He's like, use Maul as a tool.
Yep.
And then I'll be in charge of the syndicate. And like, that's not the vibe. And so
not at all.
In terms of this sort of this journey of selfishness and this unity, I wanted to close out by talking a little bit specifically about the Maul and Devon relationship and any hope for depth. You and I agree that Docky is correct, that Maul is doing things for Devon, but they are really for Maul. But there is a connection. He sends her that dream. and certainly maybe dark side folks can send dreams, but that image is like Luke and Leia communicating, right? Uh, and Daki even says, "Hey, in order for you to do that, that must mean that you have a connection." Um, every time that Maul looks like he's going to lose Devin, he screams no in a way that he is fearful of losing his prize, but also in a like he cannot bear to lose Devin. Um, so I guess my question for you, Ken, is there a glimmer of the possibility of that true feeling may emerge from Maul to Devin?
No, but yes. Again, I think it's real, right? I think he's feeling these losses along the way, and I think he's feeling the connection with her. But it always, to me, I guess I'm just looking at the fact that he's definitely formed a bond, and that's the connection. That's what Daki's talking about. That's why he's able. Just like I think he had a bond with Ezra, right? We know how that goes. I right now have trouble seeing Maul as not looking at everything as a piece for his story, and there's any care he has for her as a mentor to a mentee and someone that's part of his plan still rings hollow to me beyond, just like almost like an Anakin attachment, right? I do care about you. I have to have you for my plan. I'm attached to that idea. They're going to have some tea and fine moments, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's to me is the big question of like how close does he get to being able to admit to himself that he wants his connection. I agree with what some people have folks have said in our chat that he hasn't been shown anything but a master and apprentice relationship, so that is intimacy to him. But within that, he wanted his brother Savage around.
Mm-hmm.
Jumping forward in time, who knows what he's been through with Devin. But those final moments with Ezra in the episode where they go to Dathomir, Ezra rejects him, and Ezra's got his back to him, and we could have been brothers. And his face is falling. Whether he can admit it to himself,
Yeah.
He might not have any other structure for it than the master apprentice domination game, but he wants connection. He doesn't want to be alone. So I really hope that he walks up close to it. And I thought, one of the things I really liked about the end of their sort of arc here is like Devin loses her lightsaber, her Jedi lightsaber. She doesn't throw it away; she loses it. And Maul gives her the other half of his, the one that means the most to him. And at the time when he offers it to her and she takes it, it's like this victory. But there's this moment, at the very end when she grasps it like possessive, like a Sith. It's mine now. And I kind of hope that the show follows through on that. Like, in order to get what Maul thinks he wants, in order to break her, he gave her one half of a heart locket. He gave her one half of himself, the oldest and most sentimental half of himself. He gave it to her in the end of this episode, is her taking it. So I wonder if it's almost going to be like a, hey, I didn't want to have an emotional responsibility to you. I didn't expect you to sort of out possessive me, and I don't think it's gonna be a comedy thing of like, can I have my blade back? But I'm interested to see how they follow up on that image of in order to break her, you had to give her one half of the heart locket. And do you want that intimacy?
Yeah. Everything you're saying about Maul in the past and what we've seen in the past or see in the future in terms of his story with Ezra and all that stuff. Again, it's sincere. The loss of his brother clearly affects him. He wanted him around. I think this is the only way. It's therapy stuff. It's the only way he knows how to love, right? This is all he was shown. I was passed around, left behind, abandoned, and the person that saved me, who was supposed to guide me, hurt me perhaps the most, and I'm very aware of it. But I'm going to love in the same way, and he does not know on a conscious level that what he's doing. And the people I earlier in the show I brought out kind of a real example in a couple real examples with my life, and those folks who have built up everyone around them to serve them, don't realize they're doing it completely. They feel as though they've had real connections. And when people start to drop off one by one, they're hurt as if, how could you leave me? I gave you everything. I gave you your name in social or the digital media world. I gave you your name in pro wrestling. And you left me? I'm heartbroken. I'm heartbroken at my actions sending you away. That's Maul to me.
Yep. I think there is going to be definitely some guilt. This was also an episode where a lot of folks lost a parent figure. Devin loses Daki, Riley loses Brander, Maul loses his whole family. Vader is kind of a symbol of lost parents. Nobody in the episode knows that, but we do. Of, hey, yeah, that relentless monster killing you, it's because he lost all of his parental figures, at least partially. So it's really interesting to think about what's that relationship like going to be like with Devin and Maul, of how much is Maul wants her to be his apprentice, but like how much is she going to need him to be a sort of parental figure?
Man.
Yeah.
Sorry. I'm reliving some of my past pains too.
I understand. Last kind of theme I want to talk about, and it can guide us into the canon discussion as well. And it is sort of what Vader brings in. We were told long ago that a Jedi uses their powers for knowledge and defense. And I think the battle with Vader is a battle about the value of knowledge. In this fight, Vader holds all the knowledge cards.
Yeah.
He knows who Maul is, and he knows his weaknesses because they've clearly been literally reported by the Inquisitors. He says that casual lightsaber slap to Maul's wounded hip. And that's a total, like, I know where you're weak.
Yeah.
You know, it's psychological. As Maul and Daki come to realize, Vader knows how the Jedi fight. And that's the wedge issue that Maul is pressing on Devin. Like, you gotta fight him differently because he knows all your tricks.
Right.
In contrast, the three of them are disturbed because they don't understand Vader. Painful for Maul, who wants to be Mr. Grand Plan, and for the Jedi, who value knowledge. Early on, Maul says, Inquisitor, what are you? Great, what are you is like that pain of a lack of knowledge. It's fear of his prowess, but it's also like, how can I fight you if I don't understand what you are? Daki says, this enemy is something different. I fear what my instincts are telling me, a Dark Lord of the Sith. So maybe there's some knowledge there, but there's not knowledge of how to stand up to it. As it goes on, I think that Maul has an inkling that this is indeed Palpatine's very special boy, that this is Anakin Skywalker, and that's why he knows how to fight Jedi. So there's a moment when Daki is trying to puzzle out what's going on, and Maul says, no, it cannot be. Ron, he says, if I am right, he knows how you think. And I think that's important to tie back to the last arc in the Clone Wars, where he's had visions that the final apprentice is actually going to be Anakin Skywalker, and everything hinges on Anakin, and he's looking for Ahsoka's help to kill Anakin. And the literal quote from Maul in the Clone Wars is, I will deprive him of his prized pupil. So I think there's a lack of knowledge, and then the knowledge that is seeping in to Maul is really wounding, a real damage to his ego of like, this is Dooku he was a useful chess piece, but this is the guy who really replaced me. This is the prized pupil. This is the very special boy that I failed to stop. This is the guy who's sleeping in my bedroom after Daddy kicked me out,
Yeah.
So I think Maul's knowledge doesn't really help him right now. I think it undermines him. And in terms of what is to come, it was really interesting and valuable to me to look at some quotes from Rebels in the Twilight of the Apprentice when Maul does have knowledge later on. He's discussing with Kanan and Ezra and Ahsoka what to do. And Maul says, the one they call Vader will be here soon. His dogs will tell him where we are. 2 Jedi and a part-timer. Oh, he will come. He will not be able to resist us. Exact opposite. Full knowledge. And then as people love to point out, which is great, he says, I cannot defeat Vader alone. And people rightfully, I think, concentrate on Maul's fear of Vader, but it's also knowledge in that I cannot defeat Vader alone in Rebels. It's manipulation of Ezra,
Mm-hmm.
but it's also pretty bittersweet of like, oh, really, Maul, trapped on Malachor alone,
Mm-hmm.
trying to manipulate Ezra. Like, maybe if you would have listened to Daki, you wouldn't have to be saying Daki's wisdom to Ezra years later. I cannot defeat Vader alone.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No, this does lead us into canon for sure, and great breakdown of connecting those dots and why it's sometimes just so fun outside of our theme discussion to revisit some of these characters in different parts of their time to connect the dots in an enriching way for me. This is having fun with the tools at your disposal, the characters on your roster, and now you can do a supercut of putting that all together if you want, and I love that, I think it's partially for me, speaking of myself, but our generation, a little bit of, when we first met Vader, we always kind of thought he was number one. The Jedi comes along and there's that Emperor guy, but he's Vader's the most famous bad guy in the galaxy. But still, a lot of people don't know he is this mystery to so many people in the galaxy. And I like that Daki and Devin would have no real clue. Not even that. I'm talking about Anakin of it all, but just that there's this number two that's going around just killing people. So that's fascinating. And for Maul to have the realization, you're right, the little mumbles are so great. Oh, no. Can I be? That's the spot right there. So I just love the way they played with that. I love what you're talking about in terms of the connection. And yeah, now anytime we watch Rebels, I'm going to think back to Daki and be like, Maul, could have had it all.
Yeah. Yep. And, like I said, he's manipulating Ezra, so maybe there's not a lot of sincerity, but it's also like ironic, Maul. Very ironic. Let's get into canon connections, and we'll just segue into continuing to talk about Vader. Obviously, you and I were thrilled to see Vader. From what I can tell, the audience was thrilled to see Vader. I do think we live in this time where a lot of folks feel like there need to be new ideas, and Star Wars just plays the hits. And, Vader's in another thing, great, and all that. And, there's a part of me that gets it. I was in not about Vader, but about the general feeling in the world of we need new things. I was in at the airport bar, and for like an hour, nothing but 80s songs. I was like, that's cool. But in the 80s, you didn't go to an airport bar and they played Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin, which would have, or not even that, even earlier. It would have been Glenn Miller. The 80s does have a bit of a chokehold on our culture.
Yeah.
And for me, I can, and I had multiple discussions about this in Minneapolis with different friends and family members about the sort of the frustration and the anger at the chokehold of the past on the present in our culture and our storytelling. And for me, like, I want new stories. I hope to tell new stories. But I think Star Wars gets kind of caught up in this anger, and Star Wars can't help what it is. That it has, as much as about the fresh and the new, it's always been about nostalgia. The value of it has always been, it is a connected story. Vader's not swinging in here because they're afraid the end of Maul won't have enough ratings. It's because Vader is who would come. It's because Vader has something to tell us about Maul, because they've both been victimized by the same man. And that connected lore is one of, to me, the treasured parts of Star Wars. So I have to really work hard to separate the general criticism of our world, that we do need new ideas, that we can go to the well, versus Star Wars is, in my opinion, kind of designed to do brand new, exciting things, and also to go to the well, because that's the value. It's a connected galaxy. So do you have any thoughts about, we'll talk more specifics about Vader, but just that kind of the cultural reality of Vader after all these years still being like this needle drop of Vader,
Yeah, no, guys, it's a larger conversation that we have often in the real. I just had it the other day with someone who, off air, we were talking about something, and they were just like, yeah, I've kind of fell off Star Wars, it just kind of keeps doing the same things. It needs to do something new. And it's like, Yeah, I get it. You had a Kenobi series. They did something spectacularly new with Kenobi, the character. They did a
Mhm.
big what if that angered people. Every complaint I hear about Kenobi is that they did something different than Kenobi. That's not the old hermit I know. He never left Tatooine.
He
Boba
never left
Fett.
Tatooine. He never met Leia. He never fought
Yeah,
Vader again. So yeah, it is all like stay the way it
that's the
was,
way it was.
which is
Boba Fett, they do something risky. And I know that the series isn't for everybody, and I know the change in Boba Fett isn't for everybody, but there again, they take this thing and let's dismantle the man behind the mask and do something different. So on and on and on. I'm with you too. I understand that culture has kind of stopped. Like 87, and we're
mhm,
just building back to that. 90s too. I'm such a 90s person. I
mhm.
still feel we're in that decade. I get it. I get it. I get it. But Vader has an absolute place. And for what it's worth, even if they just went to the Vader well, this is one of the best depictions of Vader, as they said up top, as a monster. It
Mhm.
added something new. 50 years later, I'm like, wow, okay, I love seeing that. There was something not necessarily new about him, but it's just like, oh, that's the side, that's the Rogue One hallway, that's Vader, and he still doesn't get what he
Mhm.
wants, but it's cool to watch.
Mhm. Yeah. I wanted to be sure to ask you in Vader's depiction about the complete lack of speech.
Hmm.
How you felt about that?
Completely liked it. For the big real world issues that might hang over it. With now the passing James Earl Jones and how they're going to go forward with that voice. If they do, I hope it's one of the many people who have played him in video games and something who I think do a great Vader voice. Actually perform it, actually act it. But in terms of just this, these two episodes, oh my God, I'm glad he didn't say one word. One word. It
Mhm.
just worked for
Yeah.
what we are looking at.
Yeah, because I think it helped the unknowability of this relentless masked creature of
Mm-hmm.
death.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I with my lunch yesterday, I finally listened to that old record from '77, the story of Star Wars,
Yes.
which I never had as a kid.
Yes.
And it's got that really kind of colorful prose that the sort of old British radio announcer
Mm-hmm.
is reciting. And I didn't have a time to go to listen to it again, so I'm just paraphrasing. But it's so over the top. It describes Vader as uh, being immersed in a cloud of awesome evil.
Mm, mm,
And
mm.
it's like, hey, that was Vader on the television show last night.
Literally,
He
literally.
was immersed in a cloud of awesome evil.
Mhm,
I was so thrilled with the depiction of Vader, and partially, I so wanted Vader to show up, and
mhm,
uh, going back to when the titles were announced, and the last episode was just titled finale, and people were like, "Oh no, it's only going to be one season." And my feeling was, no, they don't want to tell the title because it's going to reveal Vader. And I joked about
mhm.
it being called the Very Special Boy,
Mhm,
but it's called the Dark Lord,
mhm,
which is the cool version of Very Special Boy. But I was so excited for the idea of an emotional showdown between Maul and Vader,
mhm,
where they know one another's weaknesses. And then the show did a great job of throwing me off the scent because I kind of got obsessed with that.
mhm,
It didn't feel like there was room for that. It didn't feel like there was point for that.
mhm,
So I was so thrilled that Vader showed up is a step one in the conflict between Vader and Maul.
mm,
And that's really what it felt like to me of like, okay, Maul knows he's out there now. Maul can do research now.
mhm,
Now Vader has to go back and go, yeah, hey, I killed a Jedi Master, but a kid and Maul got away. And Palpatine's going to be like, well, you're a loser then.
mm,
Go get him again, right?
mhm,
Now he's going to be a thorn in Vader's side
mhm,
just as much as the idea of Vader, the very special boy who took his place, is a thorn in Maul's side. So I really loved this depiction of keep the emotions closed until they confront one another again. Hopefully in season 2 with a very much more I know who you are
mm,
and I know all your weaknesses. And hey,
mm,
so do I.
mm,
I know I almost took your head off when you were a little boy.
mhm.
And I'm still hoping for that, but this appearance with Vader so reserved was a great setup for what I still hope to come.
Yeah, I think it could very well be step one. You're almost pitching this great idea to me of Maul season 2, and then at the same time Vader season 1, but they run concurrent, and it's just, Palpatine going, he killed your master Qui-Gon, and just like, the ghost that is Anakin trying to go get revenge, and truly paid off the Duel of Fates, which, by the way, the use of the Duel of Fates at the opening credits was wonderful. Yes, as a lot of people sometimes bemoan, but we kind of understand it's synonymous with Maul now at this point. It's almost Maul's theme, but it still represents Anakin in so many ways in that fight and the true Duel of Fates. So I love the use of it there, because it does kind of speak to me. It does speak to what you're talking about, that at the end of this, at least one person knows who the other one is. And I got to think Darth Vader's clocking it too. So maybe we get some more. And I'd love it to be a little tea time conversation. I'd love it to have a little sit down talk.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, I think Vader knows. Yeah, oh great, I'll just go put him down, right? And who knows how much of Sheev's mean book we'll get, get to hear. But like, Kenobi beat him. So moving on from Vader, which is so hard to do. Wanted to check in quickly, canon-wise, about Dryden Voss. What did you think of his characterization? I know a lot of people were hoping for Paul Bettany himself. Scott White doing the voice. How did you feel?
I liked it in the end. I liked the presentation of it, and I get why might not have Paul Bettany around, just in terms of workload and whatnot, and timing. Loved it.
Fee?
What's that?
Fee?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Budgets are a real thing, even for these super corporations, right? I loved it. I was excited. This is something we anticipated. Again, talk about bridging the gap to maybe future storytelling. We're going to spend time with this character, and the cure of it all, I know, hangs over it. It's seasons away, if at all, in this show. But loved it, and just kind of fun. And as a fan of Solo Star Wars story like you are, I love seeing that movie reach farther into the galaxy.
Exactly. I love connecting the dots, and I thought the voice actor did a fine job. There's a kind of a playful, I'm elegant but slightly unhinged thing that Paul Bettany does really well, and I think Scott White was getting there, and I think with even more to play with, it'll be even better.
Yep.
All right, my favorite part of our canon discussion, Ken. So are they dead? Let's go down the list. All right, so Merrick is folks have been loving talking about. We met in the Ahsoka series when Ahsoka cut him. The Green Night Sister gas came out, so lots of people have been like, "Oh, hey, why is this Inquisitor still around?" Oh, because he was reanimated by Dathomirian magic, Night Sister magic. So everybody was waiting for Merrick is killable. Was he killed? And he just fell off a cliff. Come on.
No. I don't think he's dead. I think if we see his death, and I think we will. I mean, it's got to be in some spot where a Night Sister can find him, right? Right. I mean, conceivably here, I guess you could do a fade in on season 2, and Merrick's scrunched down at the bottom. Well, his armor's got to be somewhat preserved, and then Morgan Elsbeth or someone is there. I could see that. But he's not dead.
Maybe the next animated series of shorts will be Tales of Dead Guys.
Yeah.
And it'll be Morgan Elsbeth finding Merrick impaled on a spire there that Docky led him to. Yeah, I'd be happy to see more Merrick. Otherwise, I like that. Like, yeah, maybe died, maybe got filled with Night Sister gas later. Who knows? All right. Rook cast. So we see her being pulled back into the mist by Vader. We hear a no and a really upsetting crunch. The visual in my head is that Vader crushed her helmet into her head. I kind of feel like that's it for Rook cast myself, but how do you feel?
I'm going with dead. I'm going with dead. And we liked the character Rook cast, and we wanted maybe a little bit more. I wanted her maybe to completely turn on Maul, and say enough's enough. Not saying she would have been good, but that she would have had that, taken that action. But yeah, this is dead. And I joked earlier, like there's like a monster out there. There's this growl and this crunch. It sounds like she's eaten. I do believe it's Vader all the way through. And wow, I like your violent end there. But yeah, I think she's dead.
I think that's a wrap on Rook cast for myself.
That's a wrap.
That's a wrap. Big applause. Oh, now the last two are just going to get worse. I'm not counting the Night Brother. I think he's dead. I don't think that's worth a discussion.
Yeah.
It's shot multiple times and sinking in acid. I think that's pretty dead, even for Star Wars. Unless somebody, pours some Night Sister magic ichor. That's where they dispose of it on Janix. Brander Lawson, given his life for his son to live on, disappearing into the mist, wounded in front of a large group of stormtroopers. A tasteful way to show a character's demise on a show that they still want to be PG-13, or are we meant to hope, Ken?
I think we are trained to meant to hope. I am going. If you're having me put some money down, I'm going gone, dead. And what an ending. It really worked for me. It's emotional. The stuff with Riley makes sense. I think Riley and Two Boots can go on. Even Vario has that, oh, you're a Lawson, meaning they're almost kind of this brand, this thing that can go on. Like I mentioned the Tech thing, that we didn't see Tech's body either. You had a good theory of how they could have maybe brought the body of Tech back, not necessarily the Tech we knew, but they stuck with it. I think they're going to stick with this one too.
Yeah, I think we've had so many conversations, and I think we will continue to, about characters coming back from either very much dead or the appearance of death. But I feel like Tech was a good lesson. I got tricked by the goggles at the end of that season, and feel like, ooh, what an interesting story would be if they cloned him so he was off his goggles, so he was Tech, but he didn't have the memories and all that. And maybe someday they would do that story. But I ended up really liking what the Bad Batch did, of like, this is a moment of choice and sacrifice for this character. And the importance part is how does everybody else go on? How does everybody else honor him? In this one, as much as I want Brander to come back, I want the cyborg Lawson to come back and save his son at a pivotal moment. It feels like this is a tale of how do you adapt to changing times, and changing times that are awful. And throughout this show, it's been a light touch, but Devin and Riley have been put together to compare their journeys of how are these young folks going to make it in this galaxy that ain't right. And in this episode, they both lost their parents. And I'm not even entertaining the idea that Docky was like, well, maybe he was just resting his eyes. Docky's gone. So it feels like for Brander, or for Riley and Devin's relationship to continue to be a parallel to one another, that there's an opportunity for Riley to handle the loss of his father better than Devin is handling the loss of Docky.
Yeah. We always ask the why of your conspiracy theory inside Star Wars, or the why of the story going forward. And you're touching upon a big why there. Why the two sides of the coin. Almost as if it's Two Boots versus Maul might end up being the mentor battle going forward. But I do agree with you there. And it was done with great purpose, just great purpose behind Brander Lawson's death. We don't see the bodies again. And there was a lot of violence in this season, to be clear, including the Spybot thing. But I still think, the choice to have Riley use stun, I think, was both good for the story, like you touched upon, but also probably some realities of, do we want the teenagers shooting the actual blasters? So let's decide what we're going to do with that. If we're taking away the father figures, off camera in the fog, we don't see the actual act of Vader, the blade going in. We just see the aftermath. Still brutal stuff. This is still PG-13 to me. But I think they were playing with some of that stuff in the right way. And that's why I think, all that to say, my evidence, Your Honor, is why Lawson is dead.
All right.
Yeah.
Jesus. The most I was shocked by Brander, but even more shocked by Spybot. People loved Spybot so much. We were talking on our live stream about, like, well, Star Wars isn't like a body count quota kind of show that it needs a bunch of people to die. And who might die? Well, for sure. Not for sure. A lot of people hope that Docky would survive, but I was kind of like, I think Docky's going to die, because what, do you want Brander to die? Do you want Spybot to die? He's like, no. He's like, oh. Yeah. So, Spybot, severed nearly in half by a lightsaber blade, and then falling into an acid river.
Mm-hmm.
Is he okay? Is he going to make it? Is he safe? Is he all right?
They killed the dog, man. They killed the dog. They hooched Spybot. And as Tom Hanks says, you don't kill the dog.
Yeah. I'm laughing and almost crying at the same time. It's true.
They knew what they were doing. They knew what they were doing.
Spybot, won't you please come home?
Master.
God damn.
It's like it was so great. I love Spybot. Such a great droid. Spybot was a great droid, even though he was doing things for the wrong side, maybe. But yeah.
Okay, how do you feel if we got the old Spybot 2? Like, because we don't know where he came from, and I love that delicious mystery of like he loves Maul and he loves evil and he hates sincerity. He's just a little agent of chaos droid. Did he just happen to end up that way, or did somebody program him that way for Maul? And if so, could there be like a Spybot 2, or would that cheapen his passing?
No, I'd be on board for this. I like the idea that it's someone with such pure loyalty to Maul that's not going to leave him in any way, shape, or form other than death, so that he might have some backups for this. And we have Spybot with like 2 O's, and he comes back, and Maul has his dog again, or a version of it.
Yeah. I feel bad for Brander, but I want Spybot to come back. I think Spybot was just one of the revelations of the series in terms of like what we talked about at the beginning of being able to do some new things. We have had funny droid sidekicks since the beginning, and they just managed to tap into a different vibe and just so funny. I mean, they've done some of the same kind of humor with 000 in the comics, the evil 3PO who loves death and murder, but Spybot was different. He was, like you said, he's the dog. So I'm going to pour a lot of ones out for Spybot.
Indeed.
All right, moving on to some favorite moments. Ken, you just go ahead and go through your list and see what you knock off of mine.
And to be honest, I stopped at one point putting him down because I was like, number one, too many, but also it's so much fun just to watch these episodes too. We love going deep. We always look at Star Wars from a deeper perspective, or with a deeper perspective. But gosh, I was so jazzed. 1 a.m, couldn't go to sleep till like 2:30 because I just was like, it was some great Star Wars. I wanted to run to a playground with my figures. Some favorite moments. Go to episode 9. I do like the little like Maul telling Rook to show some respect to Docu because I need him for now. But it reminds me of some of my favorite moments with the characters like Stannis Baratheon. No, Jaime Lannister is a sir. He's a knight. We're not going to take away. I may hate him, but we're not going to take away his accomplishments. I like that about Maul. It works for me as Maul character. Maul just kind of shaking his bum knee out before Leroy Jenkinsing the Empire, which I now feel more. I know we got some of our listeners like the wonderful Maddie Gunner who are so connected to Maul in ways that we sometimes worry about. But I am now connected to Maul as a video game player because I'm a Leroy Jenkinser at heart. I will rush in. And the theme we talked about earlier, his rage sometimes looks like success. Pretty successful, pretty cool. But I loved all the stuff going there. The tension of the little skiff to get across the acid toxic lake of goo. Well done, well played. The focusing in on it too, and keeping it afloat. Spybot dying, pushing it back and forth, and only 2 at a time. Great tool, great use. I just like the use of that. We can go. Maybe it's on your list if you want to talk about it. Brander's goodbye speech. Other than I joked, not joked. I thought that was the this is a character goodbye moment. Potentially, I just loved it. It was so heartfelt and so earned from where he was and where we know his struggles with his son were. It just paid it off for me in a way, and kind of an earned moment.
If I could just interject real clear on that. I wrote down that one specific line of, I know I could have done better, man, but I tried. Beautiful sentiment, but also throughout this, the writing and the performance of Brander managed to make some of these kind of more earthbound colloquialisms sing.
Yeah.
Like, I know I could have done better, man, is just,
Mm-hmm.
but I tried.
Mm-hmm.
Is so well written and well performed. That's just beautiful.
Yeah, no, I know Wagner Moura playing the role, and he's kind of a rising star right now, and well deserved for that alone. He could just he could. That's why one of the reasons why Lost and come back. We got a great performer. Let's do him. Little moments: Devin, Docky, and Maul first igniting their blades together, and also just seeing Maul fighting Vader, Maul fighting the Inquisitors. Like this is cool Star Wars stuff, and some really cool action shots that they got with the blades up and everything like that. Icarus' death, going out on a shield like a boss was great. I'll try to let's see. We talked about that. I liked Vario the Distraction. I really love this character all through the series, and just like him, he's comic relief, but he's also he's involved. He's there, and he might go through some surprising character growth. I can see that with him, but I love that. And then the final one will say, and I think someone mentioned this in live stream or when they called into our show on Monday, on May the 4th. We didn't talk about the moment, but I think we shared the moment. I forget who called in and said it, but Vader putting his hand through the rocks. I legitimately had a jump scare at like 12:45 in my house watching it that night. That's some of mine.
Yeah. No, I think they're great. I'm with you on the Vario. I mean, this is what I was saying about all the ingredients being balanced so well. Like in the midst of Vader coming to kill all of our protagonists, the Vario comedy worked because it was the stakes were high. But you're not small, you're super tall.
Yeah.
So funny while also keeping the stakes high. Yeah, so many great Vader moments, but my favorite might be the Maul sensing something stopping. And the hand bursting through the wall is absolute Michael Myers, Jason Voorhees, absolute horror movie stuff. Yeah, the just scariest possible version of Vader is this horrific monster lurking behind the wall. You never know where he is. I thought that was fantastic. So a couple other things, just to honor the design and the animation. There's the shot of Maul standing calmly with his back to the amazing statue at the Armistice fountain. That Armistice statue is just, it's got the shield and the spear. And are we about aggression or are we about defense? But the statue is so beautiful. Like that one shot, it moves on really fast. Like that's a painting. It's so beautiful. I mean, it probably is literally a painting, but it's composed like a master work. It's fantastic. I really did like the moment when Docky agrees to the partnership. He says, "I will agree to this, but we must remain cautious of the Shadow Lord." And like, okay, well, he's not a Sith Lord anymore, and so it's great to refer to him as Shadow Lord. But a lot of times, like people online will make fun of, you cannot have a character say the title of the movie, or it becomes, it's too much of a breaking the fourth wall. But this worked like gangbusters. Did you like Docky saying the name of the show?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great payoff. I know what people are saying and other things. I joked years ago that episode 9 would end with 3PO going, and these were the wars of the stars. Like, yeah, I get it. And even in Game of Thrones season 8, something that I love much, there's some moments with the actual books that are Samuel Tarly that they actually kind of say, the title, and I'm like, I don't know. But yeah, I liked it here because Docky's great. The delivery of it, wonderful. Dennis Haysbert, great,
amazing, all timer. Need to shout out to his Spybots. Great comedy moments that we got before the horrific end. When he's asked to turn off the comms, comms go bye me jam comms. The fact that this little sing song, I deeply hope they make a Maul Shadow Lord video game where you get to play as Maul, and maybe that's where they tell the story of how Spybot came to be. And Spybot is there with just endless, a video game player would send him to turn comms off just to hear the song. He's just like the perfect video game character.
Totally.
I also really liked when Riley and Brander had that moment of sincerity when when Spybot is pushing them on the skiff, and Spybot makes the retching noises. Again, that's like come on, the barfing at sincerity. Bleh, it seems like such an old school joke, but when it comes from
Yeah.
weird evil dog,
Yeah.
it's funny as hell.
Dog
Eh, yeah.
I love it.
I'm gonna echo the Night Brother Icarus's death.
Mhm.
I think the tide is turning. You're realizing, oh, they're gonna get decimated.
Right.
But the throwing the blades, taking all those shots, and tackling the troops into the acid of like I'm gonna go out my way.
Mhm.
So cool.
Yeah. Great.
Um,
Hmm.
there's a moment, the moment where Maul sees Vader for the first time. Obviously, we have the cliffhanger at the end of episode 9. And we hear Vader, we see Vader. He turns red with the glow of his blade. Great. But then there's the version of it at the top of episode 10 where it kind of Maul really like takes him in, you know. And I think a lot about the moment. I thought about it the first time I was watching the Phantom Menace of Anakin, this innocent kid who thinks the biggest problem in the galaxy is that people don't help each other enough, sees this Satan-looking guy that he has no idea who it is, impeding the hero's forward movement, and wondering, like, Anakin is so far away from his destiny at that point, or his choice
Mhm.
at that point. I'm wondering, like, what would that kid think of, like, and that's who I want to grow up to be, that guy.
Okay.
I thought of that the first time I watched Phantom Menace, and it was really cool to see the payoff the other way around
Mm.
for Maul to be the one being, I'm desperately trying to go forward, but there's an unspeakable monster in my path.
Mhm.
And just, it made me, I don't think that episode is like really leaning on it
No.
or
Yeah.
telling people that's what they should think about. This is what occurred to me and makes me very hopeful for more of an emotional confrontation between the two of them.
Yeah, that'd be great. No, yeah, it's just great Star Wars too. Just you can't help but think about that and wonder, is the ghost of Anakin inside there going, "Ha, my turn now, gotcha." I believe it.
Yeah. Final couple for me. I mentioned it, but I really liked seeing Daki's, win against Merrick and winning in the Jedi way by being cunning and playing on Merrick's fear.
Mhm.
And it was satisfying to see one Inquisitor finally go down. Great shot where Daki throws Devin his blade and she does the double block.
Great moment. Yeah.
There's also the moment in episode 9 where Devin, Daki, and Maul are fighting Merrick and Crow, and they all swing around into a stop at one moment. And it's just like, it was the invention of the lightsaber fighting style of Phantom Menace, that it was a little bit more dance-like. It was a little bit more like ballet of like, we all know these moves and there's a rhythm to them. And we're trying to see if we can get past one another's knowledge of these moves. And I love it. And I still have friends who are like, I don't like the Maul Kenobi fight in Phantom Menace because it looks like they're dancing. It's like, but that's why I love it when they come together, break apart, and have their little poses, and then launch back into it. And it was so cool to see that Phantom Menace style, but with like 5 people fighting.
Yeah, no, I loved all those moments you're talking about. That great. It's almost like they're pause for camera, and it does kind of work for me. It's a different era. Yeah, I was one of those people in '99 like, I don't know, the fighting style is a little different, but it, even George is saying, look, it's Jedi and Sith at their peak. They're going to be fighting a little different. I like that.
There's so many Vader moments, but the one I really wanted to highlight is just that the final fight between Vader and Daki, when Daki's been pushed into it. In classic tradition, he gets a chance to tag Vader's shoulder. This doesn't really help him, but we haven't got a chance to talk about the way Vader's fighting style is done. It's been developing over the years, the truth of like Vader's range of shoulder movement in the original trilogy. And I think in '99, people like Maul would take Vader out. He can't lift his arms over his shoulders. How could he possibly? And I was always like, yeah, but Vader hits harder. He puts all this force behind it, right? And I love how much that's developed to like, he is just a brutal hammer. More powerful in the force, but just the wailing, the anger. And I love in this last fight between him and Daki that we don't see the kill shot. We see him batter and batter and batter until Daki's defenses are gone. It's so cool to give him such a distinctive fighting style, but it's also this part of him like, well, that's Anakin. That's the way Anakin fought in the Clone Wars. He might be spinning and flipping and, blocking things behind his back and all this, cool stuff. But the essential difference between Kenobi and Anakin was Kenobi's always trying to find the reasonable way to do things or the cunning way to do things. And Anakin's just like, my plan is to storm at the front door and be more powerful than everybody else. And to see that legacy continue in Vader, just like, do your dances, do your flips. I'm just going to hit you harder and again and again and again. I'm going to punch and kick your front door until you die is really cool and really upsetting.
Yeah, I agree. No, it's not even like I was going to say great choice, but that there is no other choice. This is who he is. This is how Vader would fight. This is how Vader thinks. And you're right. A hammer of eval. And you know, you could see him dodging things, moving rocks, and it was kind of fantastic in its own way. And just blocking lightsabers again, cool stuff. But just keep it in tune with who we know this monster to be, and the overpowering style also made me think of Luke in his final in that final moments on the Death Star 2 and Return of the Jedi, and it runs through their veins, I guess, the same kind of brutality and beneath them all. So yeah, wonderful. Again, like I said earlier, top, just a wonderful depiction. Just one of the best depictions of the Vader that we know. Some of it is just fantasy of the badass Vader, and I get the appeal of that. We always want you to maybe look at the lessons behind it all, of course, but that's what we do here. But yeah, it's just the way it looked like 77 Vader to me, just an little empire and everything that we've known about Vader over the years. It makes him such a classic design and intimidating. Was on display here, especially the fighting style.
Yeah, just brutal throughout. And I could list 8 million other favorite Vader moments, but I think that's the big one. Final favorite moment for me, we talked about it, but I didn't really appreciate it because I was so caught up in the story. But I love the very end of Devin grasping that saber hard before she says, "All right, I'm ready." It's such a great little, like, possessive, like a Sith, not complete opposite of letting go and moving on. Of not only am I going to take the red saber, but I'm going to grip it as hard as I possibly can, because that's what's going to keep me alive.
Yeah, there's this red, angry glow to her. I love again that you pointed out. Maul offers, take the blade, maybe. Yes, I choose to do that. I choose to become one with my true power and unshackle myself, free me from these restraints. She feels as though she took control of the situation, but this big switch, this big turn, or this big directional change going forward with her, shot and put up on screen in such a small, intimate way, right? Eyes, the mouth, the hand, just showing that even the cut to Maul, it's close in on his face. Well done. Beautiful. Haunting.
Yeah. So good. All right. We always like to include a section where we discuss any questions or concerns. Was there anything that you didn't like or struggled with in these 2 episodes?
I'm sorry. I'm trying to dig deep. I don't. Not this season. Not this series. Not this season. No, I'm trying. I love Bad Batch. It's one of my. I've sometimes said it's my favorite of the Disney era shows. It's got sometimes some cuteness that I love, but I want to go towards the darker things. This doesn't have this perfect 10 episodes for me.
Yes, my one tiny thing I could find to kvetch about is there's a moment where Vario has some kind of like comedy music, like a do 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 do.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not always a big fan of, like, I know when comedies happen. I don't need the music to tell me. That's my huge criticism of this Titanic great series. Predictions, hopes for season 2. We'll have plenty of time to discuss this over the hopefully short amount of time before season 2. But given that things ended both predictably and a little bit differently than a lot of people in the community thought, what hopes were you left with for season 2? What do you want it to be?
Man, I wonder. Part of me wants to dawn on the next day continuation of the story, that we see the more of the transition, even the training, but also I'm interested in a bit of a time jump, not long, but to get a little forward where she is a little bit more down the path and Dryden. I don't know if I need to see that the boss taken out and Dryden installed, but I'd like to have those conversations. I'd like to see those conversations. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. But they'll throw some wrinkle in. Is Maul just going to be building his criminal empire? Is the hunt's still on for him. I do believe there's more Vader to come, just based on what we saw in Rebels and some of the stuff you pointed out. I think it speaks beyond just one encounter. So I'm willing to be surprised, but I do want to see a lot of Dryden Voss and Crimson Dawn.
Yeah, I'm so curious to see if it will be a next day or I kind of feel more that it'll be like, well, Dryden's the leader of Crimson Dawn. Maul has a secure base. Nobody knows he's there. He's working on Devon.
Right.
So regardless of where they do the time jump, I think yes, absolutely Maul ensconced with Voss, building his power base. But I think they got Devon set up in this really great way. She literally says, "I want to kill them."
Right.
And I think it puts her in this really great place where, like, who cares about titles? You're not a Sith. You're just using, you're outsmarting them by using different skills that they can't match. But I think it puts her in this really great place where basically she can be hunting the Inquisitors. She can be claiming I want to hunt the Inquisitors because they're awful and they kill people, and I need to fulfill my purpose. Jedi, Sith, whatever the label is, I need to fulfill my purpose of stopping these bad guys. But we know it's coming from a place of emotion for her of, I want vengeance. I want to unleash my anger. I want to get them for what they did to my master. So I think that's a great place to leave her of. She's got a mission to hunt Inquisitors that she can use the dark side logic Band-Aid to cover up.
Patent pending. Yeah.
Yep.
I like that a lot.
And I think Maul and Vader will clash again, and I think it will be emotional this time because I think Maul will be like, "Ooh, now I know who you are, and I have a way in to fight you." And I think with both of them, with Devon and the Inquisitors, Maul and Vader, there's this great question always about, do they want to be hunter or hunted? Going back to the quotes that I love from Maul when he is got his spider legs and the spider butt and is lost his mind, and, saying, "Always remember I am fear. Always remember I am hunter. Always remember I am filth. Always remember I am nothing." And that to me is, he wants to be fear. He wants to be hunter. But he's got the Empire is, I'm not strong enough to take them on yet. So I wonder how much of the show will be about, season will be about, I need to build up my reserves, all my strength and power, so I can go on the hunt for Vader. He's not hunting me. I'm hunting him. Curious to see how much that will go. Final thing is Riley. I kind of think maybe we'll just pick up with Two Boots having delivered Riley to his mom in the Empire. And I think it could be a great parallel to Devon of like, well, you've both been recruited by the dark side. Now, how do you function? And Riley continuing to be sort of a good angel that maybe could make a difference to Devon in the long run.
Yeah, no, absolutely, you're right. The immediate goal being get you to mom, and we know who she works for. We don't know exactly what she does, but that's going to be an interesting kind of thing for Riley to deal with based on what he's seen and what he's done. I have this idea of later on down the line, if Devon's still out there being whoever she becomes, talent or otherwise, Riley, I don't need him to join a local police agency or anything like that, but Riley and Two Boots are trying to take down Crimson Dawn with the idea of, let's go save Devon if she's there, if they know. That'd be something. But I don't think that can happen immediately,
No, I think that's fantastic. That's fantastic. I guess my final biggest hope for season 2 is that it comes out in a year or less. Because it's so good, and I don't want to wait a year and a half, 2 years.
Yes, totally agree.
Yeah.
Totally agree.
All right. Final question, as always, unless you got any other big picture thoughts, Ken, is if we could have merch inspired by these episodes, what would we want?
I want this to harken back to some old 1990s WWF action figures that were weren't movable, but had parts that were movable. You could squeeze the legs and arms go like this. So I want Icarus to have clothesline arms, and you can push him down. Like, remember Ram Man back in the He-Man days? Just boom and launch him at your Stormtrooper figures. That's what I want.
That's fantastic. I deeply want a Docky action figure. I think because the popularity, they will get there. They are announced a vintage collection. Devon, I think a lot of these characters are from a popular show and are kind of cool, badass characters. So I think we will get a lot in the vintage line. I think the thing we will for sure get, and I don't know if I will get, is a Darth Vader figure that I already have multiples of. But with the Maul Shadow Lord card.
That's all you need. That's all you need.
That will be revealed very soon. But what I think the world needs to heal, Ken, is just lots of Spybot merch. We talked about, plates. We talked about like the Sphero kind of automatic. We definitely need little action figures with little clear stands, so it looks like Spybot is floating. We need a Spybot apps on our phone.
Yes.
If Spybot isn't on a shelf, people should be asking, why isn't Spybot on a shelf? Such a great character, and I really do hope that people will be able to reflect their love of him in merchandise.
100%. I even want battle damage Spybot that can be put back together.
Oh yeah. Careful with the acid, kids.
Acid not included.
Acid not included. Yeah. Ask your parents. So joking a little bit, but Spybot is so great, and I think the kind of buddy that people would love to have, on a desk at work kind of thing. All right, that is it. Big look at the last 2 episodes of Maul, Shadowlord, Maul, and the Curse of Himself. And I guess maybe that is the good way to end, Ken. Maul and the Curse of Himself. Yeah. Did he win, or did he curse himself?
To be continued, and I'm so happy we get to get more of this story. Thanks for watching, supporting, listening, especially those who maybe hopped on or returned to the podcast and the YouTube channel to get the deep dives. We always appreciate you. If you're watching on YouTube, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, leave a comment, all those things, hype the video. They really do help, and we would appreciate that. If you're on the podcast side, thanks for listening on the podcast side. We appreciate that. You can support us directly at patreon.com/ForceCenter, like Joseph said up top. We're trying to reach 400 paid supporters by the release of The Mandalorian and Grogu, and we're almost there. Please help. Please consider. We would absolutely appreciate it. We know times are tough. We get it. You can get merch, like I said, TeePublic, Fourth Wall, and you can follow me at Ken Napzok, or go to my website, kennapzok.com, and get more information on a comedy show here in the Southern California area, in Burbank, to be exact, on May 24th, 5 p.m. at Flappers Comedy Club. Joseph and I are going to be anchoring a night of Star Wars and kind of nerd-themed comedy as well. Mike Black and others on the show. Ticket information on my website. You, sir, where can they find you? Follow you and do all the things.
As I talk, I will put on the Sith Lord cap one last time until next season of Maul, Shadowlord. I hope they make a Spybot hat too. Anyway, you can find me on all the social media at Joseph Scrimshaw. You can check out my YouTube page in particular. Just search for Joseph Scrimshaw. I've been putting out lots of short films. The most recent is called Victim 7. And hey, it's got some anger, so it's a good Maul-themed short to check out. Thank you for everybody who has watched and liked and said nice things. You can also visit my website, josephscrimshaw.com, for links to everything I'm doing, and look for more information coming soon about our horror feature film, Dead Media. That's it for me.
That's it for us. We'll see you next time and next season on Maul, Shadowlord.